welcome to Baphomet's Lounge. Got a little package in the mail today from a very nice gentleman by the name of Thomas Hood. Now, I would like to open it with you guys, but let me give you a little backstory of what led to this receiving of this package today. So, in 1966, there was a great movie called Blow Up by Michelangelo Antonioni. It was filmed in the middle of swinging London, and even though it does seem plotless, there's a plot, but it's more of a, I don't know how to best describe it. Vanessa Redgrave was in the film. It's kind of like a time capsule of swinging London. And if you ever saw Michael Myers, Austin Powers, you know, when he's taking pictures of all those models, they're like, yeah, and he's like, groovy baby, click, click, and that is, he's kind of taking the piss on spoofing Blow Up, and the movie takes place of a photographer. You know, he's a high fashion photographer. He's taking pictures of these girls, and he gets sort of involved in a mystery. And as they go throughout London, you know, they just you're sort of getting in the sights and smells of the movie. And there's a kind of a cool scene where he goes into this club, and the Yardbirds are playing, and it's like the only time that Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck were in the band at the same time. It's the only time it was captured, and they're playing. Well, train come running all night long. That one under a different name. So, Blow Up does incredibly well for him, and it blew up. And so Michelangelo Antonioni was invited to do his next movie, or the next movie he decided to do was a movie called Zabriskie Point. And he wanted to do the same thing, but on the American side. So he comes into LA and he spends like countless amounts of money and time filming these just long sequences on the Death Valley and a thing and airplanes. It's just a really peculiar movie. MGM spent a fuckload of money on this one, on this movie, and it was Easy Rider came in right behind it in like '69 on a penny and blew it out of the water. When this movie finally comes out, it was just a bloated mess. I mean, great cinematography and great stuff about it. The wonderful Daria Halprin, who actually married Dennis Hopper for a bit, absolutely stunning. She's in the movie, but it's kind of plotless and you know, what have you. The one thing about, and it actually almost destroyed Michelangelo Antonioni's career until he in '75. Jack Nicholson wanted him to do a movie. They did a movie called The Passenger, and there's a famous scene at the end of The Passenger that's synonymous with that movie. It's a wild sequence, and you know, he kind of got back into it, but Zabriskie Point really killed him. The one thing about Zabriskie Point that's absolutely stellar is the soundtrack. Again, he was really kind of had his ear to the ground with the music scene at the time. And, you know, he had done, you know, with the Yardbirds in Blow Up. He actually brought in Pink Floyd to do soundtrack stuff, the Grateful Dead. The soundtrack is stellar. I've got the double disc set. I mean, it opens up with a song called Heartbeat Pig Meat, which was Pink Floyd, which is actually pieces of that gets redone into other stuff. Then there's a track called Brother Mary by a band called the Kaleidoscope. Then there's excerpts from Dark Star by the Grateful Dead, and then a track called Crumbling Land by Floyd, and then Patti Page's wonderful Tennessee Waltz. Then a track called Sugar Babe. I can't remember who that was by. And then a song called Love Scene, which is what Jerry Garcia just plays guitar while they're dancing in Death Valley. A really cool sequence. And then I Wish I Was a Single Girl Again by Roscoe Holcomb. And this song off this and turned me into him. And he's one of those howling Tennessee banjo players, you know, from Kentucky, or Tennessee, Kentucky, you know, the old coal miner, you know, that type of stuff, and blew my mind. Really cool stuff. Then a tune called Mickey's Tune by the Kaleidoscope, a song called Dance of Death by John Fahey, and then the last song is called Come In Number 51, Your Time Is Up by the Pink Floyd, and that I think later became Watch Out, Careful With That Axe, Eugene. And then I actually bought the second disc set, which really just explodes. There's just more versions of Pink Floyd jamming and more versions of Jerry Garcia jamming. But the soundtrack is stellar. And like I say, the movie was a little bit, I might have to watch it again, but I remember it being, you know, just a little bit too much. You know, I think he sort of got lost in the plot. So, Mr. Hood is friends with my accountant and good friend, Nanette. And he is an elderly gentleman who is a ex-pilot. He used to be a corporate pilot and what have you. And I think he made a comment on, you know, the good thing of Facebook. He made a comment on Nanette's post or something. I can't remember. She said something, so I looked into him, and lo and behold, I find that he was one of the jobs he did in the 70s as a pilot. He flew around for MGM to help promote the movie, and he went to various areas and to the theater, and we got to chatting, and I knew about, well, what happens, I made a comment. He's like, I can't believe you know about it. And I said, well, you know, I'm a music historian, and of course I would study that stuff and be into it. And he goes, I've got a whole pamphlet, a whole packet of promotional material they gave me that I've had since the 70s, and I think I should give it to you. And it was given to him in February of 1970, which is a month before I entered planet Earth. And then there's another young gentleman that had made a comment that said, hey, what about me, a gentleman by the name of Clayton, who made some sort of comment. Yeah, I remember that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And Thomas was a little bit conflicted, and I said, Thomas, I believe that, you know, Clayton is an old family friend of yours. I'm just a nobody on Facebook. You know, we've got several degrees of separation. I think Clayton should, please, I'm withdrawing my claim on this thing. And, you know, I mean, the Clayton guy's a nice guy. We're friends on Facebook, you know, from this incident, and, you know, nothing against him, and I'm really cool with it. Well, then out of clear blue sky, Mr. Hood sent me, goes, I've decided to give you the stuff, and I'm going to mail it out to you. He said he was going to mail it to Nan. I said, no, here, send it to my P.O. Box. Well, it arrived in the P.O. Box today. This nice little package. So, from Mr. Thomas Hood, let us open up and sort of gaze upon something that came out in the year I was born, 1970, and some promotional packets that he has here. And look at all this stuff. Wow. So he wrote me a very nice letter here. I'm just reading this first, so, you know. Hi, Noel. I'm happy to see this package go to a home where it will be appreciated. I'm also happy to pass it along now before I lose anything more. I cannot find a couple of pictures that were taken by sent copies instead. I have a news release about the trip, which I have also misplaced. The main packet is intact. Hopefully someday I will travel north and find an opportunity to get together with you. I can share firsthand my travel experiences on this trip around the country promoting the film. Tom, and please forgive me since my handwriting is so poor that I find it better to type a note, which is very, yeah, I have poor handwriting too. That's very kind of you. And Tom, I'm looking forward to, and I think that everybody who's watching this would love for me to tape your stories and immortalize your stories, because you, sir, are a time capsule as well. So he gives me this gorgeous folder. As you can see, it's taped up. It's obviously, you know, seen 50 years of better days. And he's got, on the right-hand side, it says photos and production publicity photos, and on the left-hand side, it says stories and information, and it is just beautiful, and it's all typewritten, old school typewritten, and these pictures are, you know, he's obviously, some of these that you can see he has replaced, he's done Xeroxes of them. This must be the plane that he flew for the promo thing. Some Xeroxes that he made here, but then here are some of the original photos, and as you can see, he is something on the plane, and this looks like the plane. I think that is Daria Halpin right there, and Mark Frechette, who is the star and the stars of the thing. I believe so in this picture, because that was a scene in there. They sort of paint a plane and then they take off with it. Oh, here's a beautiful scene of it looks like it's in Death Valley, that sequence that Jerry Garcia plays on. It looks like Mark Frechette, the lovely Daria Halpin, and I think that's Michelangelo Antonioni right there, hanging out with them. This, oh my God, just a beautiful picture of Daria and Mark Frechette, and she is absolutely stunning. I would say that woman is my dream girl. That woman's beautiful. I've got a thing for brunettes. This looks like Mark Frechette, a very interesting character. I think Antonioni found him screaming he was never an actor, found him screaming at somebody on the street and just immediately hired him on the spot. And then he was a very troubled individual, and eventually he died in jail. I think, memory serves, they found him with like his throat crushed by weights in the weightlifting gym or something like that. Very interesting individual. I believe this is Michelangelo Antonioni. Nice, beautiful, these beautiful pictures. Oh, Thomas, thank you so much. Another stunning picture of Miss Daria Halpin. I believe this picture here is of Rod, because he was in the movie. I believe this is Rod Taylor. I believe, and he's in the movie. There's a real interesting juxtaposition in the movie of like corporate world of the 60s and advertising versus the free hippie movement. And rumor has it, I believe, a bit part is Harrison Ford was in the movie too, in a jail sequence. He's like, you know, the camera passes by him. Here's another. This has got to be Antonioni and Mark Frechette and Daria Halpin at the looks like this is on Death Valley. Yes, Mark Frechette died at age 27, so he has joined the 27 Club, and he died in prison on December 27th during an apparent weightlifting accident when a 150-pound barbell fell on his neck and he suffocated. Prison officials did not suspect foul play. Friends thought he might have been suffering from depression. So, oh, there's a movie, Death Valley Superstar, about him in 2008. And in the early 60s, he was allegedly one of several victims of sexual abuse by Reverend Lawrence Francis Xavier Brett of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Bridgeport, Connecticut. So that might have explained some of his trauma. So rest in peace, Mr. Frechette. I hope that you are at peace. This is a fascinating sequence. Yeah, there's at the end of the movie, there's an explosion. Symbol of this beautiful house at the end of the movie. Yeah, that they kind of go this sort of cool little modern house that kind of blows up at the end of the movie, symbolizing the death of capitalism, commercialism, what have you. This is another Mark Frechette, Daria Halpin still. It's just absolutely stunning. Again, she was beautiful. And then this looks like a sequence of photographs that they implanted on top of each other of a sequence of the two making love in Death Valley in the desert there. So the pictures are stunning, and Thomas, I am absolutely honored to be the caretaker of this. Thank you. These bits of information here, it looks like a portfolio, editor portfolio. So this is kind of a typed thing about the pictures, maybe. Rod Taylor, yes. Yeah, so it just sort of talks about just a couple little things about, looks like some bullet points for the movie. Here is a kind of like a spec sheet about the film. actors, actresses, and the soundtrack on there, the director. You know, this is kind of amazing to see this typed, you know, with the old school typewriting where you did the ... to, you know. Yeah, so this is just a more like a spec sheet. This is interesting. I'm going to have to read this. This is sort of a nice, maybe 10-page single sheet. Sort of gives you maybe a synopsis, talks about the film. This is another sort of background. You know, again, this is all MGM hype stuff, so a little background about the film now, maybe it's like three pages. Yeah, the psychedelic film, the psychedelic plane symbol for youth, a one-page sort of discussion about the psychedelic film plane that they painted in wacky colors, and so then they talk about this luxury home that blows up. So another sort of press release about this luxury home that gets blown up, and there's a picture with it. So it's really interesting. Another quick little press release. It's very interesting here. It says, insisting on authenticity in his new film for MGM, Zabriskie Point, Michelangelo Antonioni persuaded several Black Panthers to participate in a strike scene. The most noteworthy member of the Oakland chapter of the organization was Kathleen Cleaver, wife of self-exiled Black Panther leader and author of Soul on Ice, Eldridge Cleaver. She and the others agreed to appear in the scene at the Free Church in Berkeley because they believed both that Antonioni would not exploit them and that the film would be an important comment on America. And it's just lots of little one-page just press releases. This from here on in are all series of little one-pagers, you know, like I say, just a quick blurb, quick little blurb for one page. And it's got your stock number sign that you see on the bottom, which is like an old press release thing. And back in the day, that's how they distinguished the end of transmission. And, you know, another article here, a couple pages typed. Michelangelo Antonioni, rebellious artist. Here's a cool thing. This is really, it says Rod Taylor discovered for Zabriskie Point. And a nice little write-up. And what's kind of cool here is right here in the corner, if you could see, there is some whiteout. They whited out the something there, some handwriting or whatever, and a little bit of, if we're going to tie in some 60 groovy baby trivia, the inventor of whiteout was none other than the mother of Michael Nesmith, guitar player of the Monkees. And again, more just interesting. I'm going to have to spend a little time, you know, reading these. This might be a night. And these are little featurettes and, you know, discussions of why he used color on certain sequences or his use of color, whatever. Again, Antonioni was a very interesting director and you know, he was part of the Italian sort of, you know, impressionist thing, you know, that they had at that time. So, Thomas, 1, thank you. 2, I will treasure this, and I will read this, and I will give this a very good home. It's as old as me. It's older than me. 3, please come north when this thing ends, this pandemic ends. I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm looking forward to hearing your stories, and I would hope that you would be willing to allow me to tape it so I can share this with you, my viewers, and the world, so they can have it documented. So everybody, you know, please stay safe. I know several of you are getting the virus or the vaccine. I know DJ Gooch called me yesterday, said he got the second dose, and he said it knocked him out for 5 hours. You know, stay tight. You know, the cavalry's arriving. We're getting it together, and you know, the world will open up. And I have a weird feeling that it'll be the roaring 20s again. For the next like 5-6 years, this world will just explode. There'll be a lot of action. The economies will go apeshit, and there'll be like 20 Woodstocks a day, you know. So don't worry about it. Let's stay alive. Okay, outside of that, today, this probably might not be on, I'm doing this now, might edit all night, so probably won't show up until the 14th of October, which will be tomorrow. But on that day, Brother John and my good friend Juju have birthdays, so happy birthdays, everybody, and stay safe. Peace.